Space, the final frontier.
To explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations.
To boldly go where no one has gone before.
Many fiction movies today are inspired by science and technological advances around them. But is this always the case? Not if you consider how a number of fiction movies, specifically sci-fi, have inspired the world of science and encouraged our capacity for innovation.
Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds.
Star Trek – Back to the Future Medicines.
Captain's log, stardate 50893.5.
Sci-fi movies have predicted and shaped our lives more than you could imagine. Yet one series seems to have stood out just by the sheer number of ways it keeps inspiring our innovations even today. That series is Star Trek. A lot of things predicted in this movie have been created and many more underway. Perhaps the most outstanding of these predictions have to do with the world of medicines and how we treat diseases. When the original series of Star Trek began, a whole lot of people were marveled by the bold predictions. Many were inspired, and many more found the ideas preposterous.
Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds.
Just as was announced in its voiceover introduction, it was clear that this series would challenge man to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Now, humans have taken giant steps within the last few decades to bring us the technological advancements that we now enjoy freely today. To understand how ridiculous these ideas sounded when the original series was produced, remember that its first episode was aired in 1966.
Captain's log, stardate 1513.1. Our position, orbiting planet M113.
The story was set somewhere in the Milky Way galaxy towards the close of the 23rd century. A group of scientists in a spaceship went out to explore the galaxy and discover more about things around them.
Ready to beam up, Jim.
A lot of technologies displayed in the series were simply stunning for the average mind. Even the high-class literate people, such as doctors and professors, were wowed by these technologies. Star Trek would go on to become the most inspiring series in the world of medicine and would herald the birth of remarkable advancements today. For example, in Star Trek, one of the most controversial devices featured was the tricorder. The tricorder, an abbreviation of tri-function recorder, is a device with a sensor scanner which helps in scanning, analyzing, and recording data. It comes in 3 major variants, even though there are a few others for special use. There is the standard general-purpose tricorder that is used for scouting areas that are unfamiliar, examining living things, and recording technical data. There is also the engineering tricorder that is used specifically for engineering tasks within the starship. The medical tricorder is the one that stunned a lot of people. The medical tricorder helps the doctors in diagnosing diseases and collecting information about the patient's body, all through the sensor, thereby requiring little professional help. No cuts, no lacerations, just advanced technology packaged into a portable handheld device. Imagine a device available to everyday consumers with which you can perform self-diagnosis of a number of medical issues and even take a few basic vital measurements, all within seconds. That was the marvel that Star Trek displayed to the world. While it seemed really impossible then, we are getting closer to this actualization by the day. Already, we now have CT scans, MRIs, and ultrasounds. These are non-invasive technologies that help discover things going on in the body without having to cut the organs open. These would have sounded like fantasy back when Star Trek was released. But we didn't stop there. Note that there have been many scanners in the past which usually focused on diagnosing one condition or take specific health measurements. But just like the medical tricorder, this was expected to cover more grounds. One of the most remarkable devices shown on Star Trek is Geordi's visor. The visor is an acronym for Visual Instrument and Sensory Organ Replacement. Because Geordi LaForge was born blind, he had to rely on this device to see. This device sends visual signals straight to his brain, helping him see all the electromagnetic spectrum. This would have looked pretty far-fetched to the people of that time, but now we have devices that are capable of something similar. In 2005, some scientists from Stanford University developed a chip that can be implanted at the back of the retinas of blind patients. Patients with this implant would wear a pair of glasses equipped with a special camera. The image captured by the camera is then transmitted to the chip, which would then go through the process of passing the signal to the visual cortex of the brain. While the result might not produce perfect 20/20 eyesight, it is good enough to move around without the need of a walking stick. An even more recent device was the one created in Israel by a team of scientists led by Hebrew University of Jerusalem's Dr. Amir Ahmedi. This device gathers the visual data and translates it to sound, which is then fed into the visual cortex to trigger different parts of the brain. This is so remarkable that the blind patients can see objects, people, postures, and even written words.
You know, I always thought that technology could solve almost any problem. It enhances the quality of our lives, lets us travel across the galaxy, even gave me my vision. But sometimes you just have to turn it all off.
Not many people love getting needles inserted into their body during vaccination or plain medical injection. No one ever likes the feeling, but it was seen as a necessary evil.
I can compensate for the atmosphere and the temperature with this. At least it'll give Kirk a fighting...
Then Star Trek showed us hypospray. The job of this device is to replace needles entirely. It works by pushing the fluid straight into your skin under a millisecond without the need of a needle. This is possible because of how fast the pressure pushes the liquid, a stunning 340 meters per second, and how thin the ampule is, as thin as a mosquito's proboscis. Now, the MIT injector has solved that problem, and it stands a chance of finally replacing our needle and syringe. Not only is it faster and safer, it is also less painful.
To seek out new life and new civilizations, except from Cochrane's own words. You know, when Charles Darwin set out on the HMS Beagle, he sailed without a single musket.
That was another time.
One other medical advancement to be noticed in Star Trek is the sickbay. This sickbay is way ahead of the sickbays that could be found in the 60s. From this bed, it is easy to diagnose illnesses with the aid of machines. Now, such advancements are real.
Space technology developed at the University of Leicester will now be used by doctors in A&E to help them identify diseases in seriously ill patients.
Scientists are taking the techniques they use to search for life on Mars and transferring them to medicine. It's never been done before, and patients at the Leicester Royal Infirmary will be the first to benefit, as Kate Fisher reports.
A sickbay has been unveiled at a British hospital, which uses outstanding technologies that could only be described as space-age to diagnose a wide range of diseases and health conditions, from stomachache to cancer. This works in a non-invasive way by gathering data based on the sight, smell, and feel of the condition for analysis and diagnosis. It even has equipment that would be very useful as a probe on a mission to Mars. Talk about Star Trek happening in real life. While these are more directly relevant in the medical world, there are even more technologies that were inspired from the movie.
Spock? Spock?
Spock here.
The handheld communicators inspired the flip phones. In fact, in 1996, Motorola named the first flip phone StarTAC. The same can be said of the touch-based control panels called PADs, personal access display devices. They would later inspire our iPads today. Also, remember the giant silver earpiece worn by Uhura while sitting at the communication station.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
This is a clear inspiration for today's Bluetooth earpiece. Mobile storage devices like floppy disk drives and USB storage devices got their inspiration from Star Trek. Even GPS came 30 years after it had been predicted in Star Trek. Now the question is how this one series could inspire us in so many ways and shape the world of medicine and technology as a whole. In fact, it remains one of the most culturally influential media franchises till date. Some would be suspect that this might have been inspired by some alien technology not disclosed to the public. While we can't prove this, one thing is certain: the mind behind this series will continue to inspire our advancements in science, medicine, and technology for a long time.
In all of those years of doing 78 Star Trek episodes, the emotional cost to me was too much. I was being censored because they claimed we had open-mouth kisses, and they were measuring. We had this whole show thrown off the air because a lady's navel was seen in it. It's a ridiculous way for a writer to lead his life, to have junior executives who don't know writing and don't know science fiction telling you cannot do this or you must do this.